In 2016 and 17, 25 Americans, including CIA agents who worked in the U.S. Embassy in Cuba, suffered serious brain injuries, causing impaired vision and memory loss, among other persistent symptoms. Now,
October 2016, Havana, Cuba. Diplomats begin reporting a strange, piercing noise in their homes. It's followed by nausea, memory loss, and brain damage. No traces of chemicals, no signs of a break-in. The weapon was invisible. The weapon was sound. But this wasn't the beginning. To find the source, we must go back to the black-budget laboratories of the 1960s, where sound was first turned into a kinetic bullet. To understand Project Black Resonance, we have to look at the vibration of death. Nikola Tesla once claimed he could split the Earth in half using a small mechanical oscillator and the power of resonance. Every object has a frequency. If you match it, you own it. We are talking about infrasound, frequencies below 20 hertz. You can't hear them, but your body absorbs them like a sponge. At 7 hertz, the human heart begins to vibrate in sync with the wave. At 19 hertz, your eyeballs begin to resonate, creating visual hallucinations. This is not magic. It is acoustic engineering used as a torture device. Meet the LRAD 5000. In public, it's for hailing ships. In private, it's a focused sonic beam. We've reconstructed the internal blueprints based on leaked patents. It uses a piezoelectric transducer array to compress air molecules into a high-pressure slug. When this slug hits a target, it's equivalent to being struck by a physical wall of water moving at 500 miles per hour. Test 1. Matter versus frequency. We're aiming our simulated beam at reinforced carbon fiber. In real time, nothing seems to happen. But as we ramp up the decibels to 170, look at the molecular bond analysis. The carbon structure is literally liquefying. It becomes a cold plasma. This is how classified projects bypass traditional armor. Test 2. The liquid matrix. Using a synthetic blood substitute, we observe acoustic cavitation. Tiny vacuum bubbles form inside the fluid. When they collapse, they create a microscopic shock wave hotter than the surface of the sun. Inside a human body, this means instant internal hemorrhaging with no external bruises. A ghost kill. Today, these devices are being miniaturized. They are on police vans, on top of secret government buildings, and perhaps even in space-based platforms. The ultimate tool for the New World Order, a weapon that leaves no fingerprints, no bullets, and no witnesses. The era of the loud explosion is over. The era of the silent scream has begun. The year was 2016. The setting, Havana, Cuba. Within the dead of night, within the secure residences of American and Canadian diplomats, something impossible began to happen. It didn't start with a bang or a flash of light. It started with a sound described as a swarm of cicadas or metal scraping against a floor, but coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. This wasn't just noise, it was a physical assault.
The victims reported a sudden onset of intense pressure in their heads, a vibrating sensation that felt like it was liquefying their inner ears. By the time the sun rose over Havana, the damage was done. Brain scans later revealed something chilling. Tissue damage similar to a concussive blast or a high-speed car accident. Yet no physical impact had ever occurred.
The intelligence community was paralyzed. Was it a virus, a chemical agent, or had someone finally mastered the weaponization of the air itself? To understand the Havana Syndrome, we must peel back the layers of military history, back to the Cold War era, where researchers under the Black Resonance programs discovered that the human body is not just flesh and bone. It is a resonant chamber, waiting to be shattered by the right frequency. This incident was the first time the public caught a glimpse of a technology that had been perfected in the shadows for over 50 years, a weapon that operates in the silence gap, the frequencies the human ear cannot hear, but the human brain cannot ignore. As we dive deeper into these classified files, ask yourself, is the ringing in your ears right now just a random sound, or is it a test? To understand the lethality of acoustic warfare, we must first abandon everything we think we know about sound. In our daily lives, sound is a medium for communication and music, but in the world of physics, sound is nothing more than a mechanical pressure wave, a physical disturbance that travels through matter, compressing and expanding the very atoms of the air. When you increase the power and precision of this wave, sound stops being something you hear and starts being a kinetic weapon that can bypass armor, walls, and human bone. The history of this silent bullet begins with a name whispered in both the halls of genius and the shadows of conspiracy: Nikola Tesla. In 1898, Tesla claimed to have created a small mechanical oscillator that nearly brought down a building in New York City. He discovered the terrifying principle of mechanical resonance. Every object in existence, from a steel bridge to a human kidney, has a natural frequency. If you hit that object with a vibration that matches its natural frequency, the amplitude of its vibration increases exponentially. It is the same reason a soprano singer can shatter a wine glass. But when the glass is a high-rise building or a human skull, the results are catastrophic. In the 1960s, a French researcher named Dr. Vladimir Gavreau stumbled upon the vibration of death by accident. While working in a laboratory, his team began to experience intense nausea and unbearable pain in their internal organs. There was no noise, only silence. Gavreau discovered that a giant industrial ventilator was emitting infrasound, sound waves below 20 Hz, the threshold of human hearing. He became obsessed with weaponizing this invisible hammer. He once stated that a giant infrasound whistle could, in theory, liquefy the internal organs of an entire city's population from miles away. Why is infrasound so dangerous? It all comes down to acoustic impedance. High-frequency sounds are easily blocked by walls or earplugs, but low-frequency waves, infrasound, have massive wavelengths. A 7 Hz wave can travel through miles of concrete and earth as if they weren't even there. Once it enters the human body, it doesn't just hit the eardrums, it hits the organs. At 7 Hz, the frequency of the human heart and chest cavity is matched. The organs begin to rub against each other, causing internal friction and heat. At 19 Hz, the human eyeball begins to resonate, causing the vision to blur and inducing a primal sense of terror, a phenomenon often mistaken for ghost sightings. In the classified black resonance programs, this isn't a theory. It is a calibrated science. By using piezoelectric transducers, military engineers can focus these waves into a tight beam. Imagine a flashlight, but instead of light, it emits a silent beam of high-pressure air molecules that can reach 170 decibels. For context, 150 decibels is enough to burst your eardrums. At 170 decibels, the sound wave becomes so dense that it behaves like a solid object. This is the acoustic slug, a wall of invisible energy that hits with the force of a high-speed collision, leaving the skin intact while the life support systems inside the body simply shut down. In the world of conventional warfare, you can see the threat coming. You see the barrel of the tank, the wings of the jet, the silhouette of the missile. But Project Black Resonance operates on a different plane of reality. The hardware behind these weapons is designed to hide in plain sight, often disguised as communication arrays or industrial equipment. Today, we are declassifying the blueprints of the most advanced acoustic platforms ever built. The most public face of this technology is the LRAD, the long-range acoustic device. To the untrained eye, it looks like a simple gray satellite dish mounted on a Humvee or a naval destroyer. But inside this dish lies a phased array of piezoelectric transducers. These are not your standard speakers. They don't move air to create music. They vibrate at high voltages to create high-intensity directional beams. While a standard loudspeaker spreads sound in all directions, an LRAD focuses it like a laser. If you stand 10 feet to the left of the beam, you hear nothing. If you stand directly in its path, your world becomes a nightmare of 160 decibels of pure, agonizing pressure. But the LRAD is only the beginning, the tip of the iceberg for civilian control. Deep within the special access programs, military engineers have developed the Banshee array. This is a miniaturized, high-output sonic emitter, often mounted on stealth drones like the RQ-170 or the rumored TR-3B Astra. These drones can hover silently over a target at 30,000 feet, projecting a narrow infrasonic beam straight down. The victims on the ground would feel a sudden crushing sense of chest pain or an overwhelming urge to flee, never knowing that the source of their agony is hovering miles above them in the clouds.
Perhaps the most terrifying iteration of this hardware is the Acoustic Shield, a ground-based perimeter defense system. Imagine a secret facility in the Nevada desert. There are no fences, no guards, no visible barriers. But as you approach the perimeter, you enter a silent zone. The air begins to feel thick, like you are walking through invisible gelatin. Your pulse quickens, your vision blurs, and as you take one more step, the frequency shifts. The sound wave hits your vestibular system, the part of your inner ear responsible for balance. Instantly, your world spins. You lose all muscle control and collapse. You haven't been shot. You haven't been gassed. You have simply been muted by the environment itself. The ultimate evolution of Project Black Resonance, however, lies in orbit. Documents leaked from the Solar Warden space program suggest the existence of orbital acoustic platforms. By using massive solar-powered emitters, these satellites can theoretically vibrate the atmosphere above a specific city, creating atmospheric resonance. This could be used to induce mass panic or even trigger tremors in the Earth's crust. When we talk about these machines, we are no longer talking about tools of war. We are talking about the ultimate tools of planetary engineering and absolute social compliance. Up until now, we have discussed machines and physics, but the true horror of Project Black Resonance lies in its interaction with the human biological machine. To a sonic weapon, your body is not a solid object. It is a complex arrangement of fluids, gases, and resonant cavities. When the right frequency is applied, the very structural integrity of your cells begins to fail. The most devastating phenomenon in acoustic warfare is acoustic cavitation. This occurs when high-intensity sound waves pass through the liquid medium of the human body, your blood and cellular fluids. The rapid pressure changes create microscopic vacuum bubbles. When these bubbles collapse, they release a concentrated burst of energy and heat that can reach temperatures higher than the surface of the sun for a fraction of a millisecond. On a cellular level, this is like thousands of microscopic grenades detonating inside your veins. There are no entrance wounds, no exit wounds, only a sudden total failure of the vascular system.
But the attack isn't just on the blood, it's on the organs themselves. Military researchers have identified the resonance of death for specific body parts. At 1 to 10 hertz, the lungs and the heart are the primary targets. The lungs are essentially air-filled sacs, making them highly susceptible to vibration. Exposure to high-intensity infrasound causes the chest wall to compress against the lungs, leading to a sensation of suffocation even in open air. The heart, a muscular pump, can be forced into arrhythmia, its natural electrical rhythm overridden by the external acoustic pulse, leading to a sudden, untraceable cardiac arrest. Then we enter the realm of neural scrambling. The human brain floats in cerebrospinal fluid, protected by the skull. However, sound waves pass through bone with ease. When targeted frequencies hit the brain's white matter, they disrupt the electrical synapses between neurons. This is the likely cause of the brain fog and cognitive decline reported in Havana Syndrome. In higher frequencies, specifically ultrasound, the weapon can target the vestibular system in the inner ear. By vibrating the fluid in your semicircular canals, the weapon destroys your sense of balance and direction. The victim experiences violent vertigo, nausea, and an immediate loss of all motor functions. You become a prisoner within your own body, unable to stand, unable to see clearly, and unable to fight back. Perhaps the most psychologically damaging frequency is 18.9 Hertz, the ghost frequency. At this precise rate, the human eyeball begins to resonate. This vibration causes a slight distortion in the peripheral vision, creating the illusion of gray, shadowy figures moving in the corner of your eye. This isn't just physical pain, it is a weaponized hallucination.
By combining this visual distortion with infrasound that triggers the amygdala, the brain's fear center, Project Black Resonance can induce a state of pure, unadulterated paranoid terror in a target population. They aren't just being attacked, they are being driven to the brink of insanity by a sound they cannot even hear. As we look toward the horizon of modern conflict, the era of the loud war is fading. The roar of jet engines and the thunder of artillery are being replaced by the terrifying efficiency of the silent strike. Project Black Resonance is no longer a laboratory experiment. It is evolving into a global infrastructure of control. We are moving toward a world where the very atmosphere can be turned into a medium for psychological and physical subjugation.
The next frontier is miniaturization. Classified documents suggest that sonic emitters are now small enough to be integrated into standard street infrastructure. Smart cities equipped with high-output acoustic nodes disguised as 5G towers or public address systems could theoretically deploy active denial frequencies at the push of a button. In the event of civil unrest or mass protest, an entire city block could be paralyzed instantly. No police presence, no tear gas, no violence, just a silent, invisible wall of nausea and vertigo that forces every citizen to their knees, unable to speak, unable to think, and unable to resist. But the ultimate evolution lies in the neural link. By combining high-frequency ultrasound with modulated brainwave patterns, researchers are exploring the possibility of acoustic mind control. This is the ability to project specific suggestions or emotional states directly into the human auditory cortex without the victim hearing a single word. It is the ultimate violation of human sovereignty, a weapon that doesn't just destroy the body, but rewrites the will. If you can control the frequency of a man's brain, you control the man himself. The shadows of Project Black Resonance are growing longer. From the mysterious humming heard in global cities to the unexplained brain injuries of diplomats, the evidence is all around us. We are living in a resonant chamber, governed by frequencies we cannot see, and controlled by powers that operate in the silence between the waves. The question is no longer whether these weapons exist. The question is who is holding the remote, and when will they decide to turn up the volume? The vault is open, and the truth is vibrating at a frequency you can no longer ignore. The history of Black Ops is written in the blood of those who dared to listen. Stay vigilant, stay silent, because in the next war, the last thing you hear will be nothing at all.